movie isn't as well known as some of the other movies I'm doing this year for holiday season. This year, as if I've been doing this for years. This is my first year doing this on this podcast, so don't know why I said that. Anyway, this movie isn't as well known as some of the others, but the little that it is known, I have seen that it's not very well received. It's not that popular. You get the idea. Usually people hate it. I see a lot of people say it's one of the worst holiday films ever, and I had to disagree. Fred Claus is one of my favorite holiday films. I'm not saying it's the best or one of the best or one of the greatest. It's just I personally really like it. It's a different take on the traditional story. It adds something new, and there's elements in here that I honestly hadn't seen before, and I think are actually kind of creative. That I do have a lot of complaints about. I have a lot of criticisms about this movie. I can see why it's not well received. I'm not saying, I don't know why people don't like this movie. Yeah, I get it. Actually, before I get into that, I will have to say this is Fred Claus from 2007. It's directed by David Dobkin with a screenplay by Dan Fogelman and starring Vince Vaughn, Paul Giamatti, Miranda Richardson, and Elizabeth Banks, Rachel Weisz, Kathy Bates, Kevin Spacey. I debated whether or not to include him, but he is a major character, unfortunately. I'm not gonna. If you don't know why I'm hesitant on adding him, I won't get into it. Anyway, so Vince Vaughn plays Fred Claus. Obviously, it's the name of the movie. He is the brother of Paul Giamatti's Santa Claus. The movie starts hundreds of years ago. I don't remember if it says the year, but it was clearly very, very long time ago. And it shows Fred was, he's old. He's maybe, I want to say 12, maybe younger than that. I don't remember if it says the age, but he's clearly the older brother. And Santa was born, Nicholas was born, and immediately was special. And Fred was like, I will be the best big brother ever. But very quickly, it shows, like, over the years, as they're growing up, Nicholas is very obviously the favorite, because he's special, like I said. He is very giving. That shows a scene where Fred gives him a customized notebook or scrapbook or something like that. And Nicholas immediately turns around and goes, I'm going to give it to this other kid. And Fred's like, what's that kid going to do with a notebook that says Nicholas on it? And their mother, played by Kathy Bates. I am a huge fan of Kathy Bates. I'll watch anything with her. She's brilliant. She plays the mother, and she's like, well, come on, Fred. Nicholas is just trying to be nice. And every time, like, another thing she's always saying is, why can't you be more like your brother? And it shows over the years, Fred comes to resent his brother for obvious reasons. And then it does like this huge time jump to the present, and it does a voiceover where it says that later in his life, Nicholas was canonized. He became Saint Nicholas, and in the rules of this story, and it doesn't really come into play later. They don't really play with it so much, is that the people who are sainted, they get frozen in time along with their family and their spouses. So that's how they're all still alive in the present. And what I mean that they don't really play with that, it's basically Vince Vaughn, and it's like Vince Vaughn playing Vince Vaughn, like his character. He's playing him in the present, and everyone is in the present. They don't really talk about, oh, yeah, I remember seeing the Beatles, or I remember during World War II I was doing this, or even doing something with that. Like, they've been alive for a long time, witnessed a lot of history. It's never brought up. I think they only had that in there just so they can open in the ancient, like in a long time ago, and then, like, why are they still alive? Oh, let's just have a line about this, but then never reference it. So that's a little annoying, but, you know, whatever. So my complaint with Vince Vaughn as Fred Claus is, okay, I like Vince Vaughn. It's just, I don't know him, like, with like his mannerisms and his voice and the way he talks and acts in this. Fred just seems like a really unlikable character. Like, there's moments where they try to make him seem heroic, like, oh, he's a good person underneath all of this, but he's Vince Vaughn, loud and obnoxious and full of himself, and I want to say, I don't know if Vince Vaughn is like this in real life. He could be the nicest person on the planet. I'm just saying, based on the characters that he plays in his movies, this is a Vince Vaughn character. I don't like Vince Vaughn characters. I want to stress, in the very, very off chance Vince Vaughn ever hears this, I don't know how he is as a person. He could be the nicest person. It's kind of like Tom Felton. He only plays villains, almost exclusively plays villains, but everyone says that he's like the sweetest person ever. So that could be the case with Vince Vaughn. He probably doesn't act like his characters. So I want to stress that, because I'm going to be bashing on his character a lot in this, maybe. But when it starts to get to the point where I think it's really creative, so the fact that it focuses on Santa's brother, like, it never even occurred to me that Santa might have a brother. Like, giving Santa a brother, just that premise alone is clever. But then it adds kind of like a corporate thing to the North Pole, where they have an inspection, or I don't remember exactly what he is, from like HR or something, and he's coming to basically he's trying to shut down the North Pole, Santa's operation, and his name is Clyde, and there's something about this movie that I always thought was weird, and I had never really paid attention enough until this time that I watched it, where at the end, I'm going to go ahead and give spoilers, because this one isn't as, it is well known, and it is streaming, but it's not, let's cut all this out. So, like, the thing that really kind of always bothered me is at the end. Like, he gives Santa 3 strikes, and then, if you get to 3 strikes, then I'm shutting this operation down. And he seemed to be deliberately trying to shut Santa down, because he would cause things to happen, and be like, oh, this happened, so strike 1, or strike 2, and then so... it looked like Santa wasn't going to be able to get everything done in time, so he immediately was like, strike 3. I'm pulling the plug. That's like 2 days to Christmas. You don't even know if he's going to make it or not. So it's the night of Christmas Eve, and Fred ended up on the sleigh delivering gifts. And Clyde is like, nope, pulling plugs and turning off everything. Like, nope, I'm shutting this down. You're not going to make it. It's like, and so I used to think, why would he do that? Just let them try. And then, it's when I actually pay attention this time, he hates Santa. He's like, always wanted to do this because when he was a kid, he asked for a Superman cape. And he never got it. And one thing I like about this is, like I said, it kind of, there's moments in here where it tries to make Fred Claus seem like a good person. It was like the individual moments where he's like interacting with people, he seems like a douchebag. But then like the big moments, like when he tells Santa, like, there are no naughty kids. Like, all kids are nice. And because he can understand, like, why kids would act out. Because, like, nobody listens to them. That's what he felt whenever they were kids. Nobody listened to him. So that's why he lashed out. And that's what happened with Clyde. Santa suddenly realizes that maybe his system was wrong. And it's like, Clyde, how long have you been wearing glasses? Were you always wearing glasses? Four-eyed Clyde, I can imagine that's what they called you. That's probably why you were on the naughty list, is that you were acting out against them, and you never got the Superman cape because you were on the naughty list because nobody listened to you. And something I like about this movie that some people actually criticize it for, it takes moments that otherwise would be used for comedic value and turns them into kind of serious moments. Like, even the first time I watched this years ago, there's a moment at the end whenever, like, when they are talking about Clyde as a kid and he wanted a Superman cape, he like shouts that, like, well, when Clark Kent, when he didn't need glasses, or he was like shouting about Superman. And there's people, I've seen reviews of this movie where people are like, this is stupid. Why would anyone they're treating this like a serious moment. And it's just stupid. Like, no, if you actually pay attention to the scene, it's actually warranted because it is, like, yeah, they're kind of shouting about Superman, but like, he's revealing like a traumatic past, like the reason for like him wanting a Superman cape. So I don't know, like, people just wanted like a straight on comedy, but there is some heart in this movie. Like, that's why I like it. It's, if it was just Vince Vaughn being wacky, like I would have just watched it the one time and be like, eh. But there is, like, because there's that side to it, it takes something that they could easily made this into like a Bad Santa 3 or whatever number they're on. They could have made this into like a raunchy comedy, but they made this, first off, they made it funny. It is a funny movie, but they also made it into like a dramatic one. There are dramatic moments that are taken seriously. Like, the whole movie isn't taken seriously. That's why they have Vince Vaughn in it. He's a comedian. Of course, they have Vince Vaughn in Psycho, so that's a comedy if you think about it. It's so bad. But we're not talking about Psycho. We're talking about this one. There is another complaint I have about it. The girlfriend, his girlfriend, Wanda, she very clearly from the very beginning wants to break up with him because of his antics. He's not a very good person, and she's wanting to break up with him, and he's like, I'm not done with this relationship, and he's just trying to push a relationship on her, and she's like, no, I'm done. And then she gets dragged into the North Pole stuff, and the thing, first off, the way he is towards her I don't like, because she wants nothing to do with him, but he keeps forcing himself, into her life. But then she gets dragged into the North Pole into like an intervention, and a normal person would be like freaking out. But she's just kind of casual about it, like, hi, yeah, I'm at the North Pole. This is Santa. I met Santa. And then she's just up and leaves. She's in the scene for like 2 minutes, and then she's like, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm done. I'm no use here. And she just leaves. It's like, that's not how a normal person would react to that situation. And then again at the end, he just kind of like, he's like, I gave up my lease on my apartment. I'm moving in with you. And she just goes for it. Like, why? Why do movies keep doing this? That's a very toxic way to look at a relationship. And I hate that movies keep pushing that. So many movies where it's like, let's be together. No, let's be together. No, let's be together. Fine. And that's seen as romantic, and it's not, and it's annoying. In a movie that I said I like. Okay, so I like this movie. I don't like everything about it. Like I said, it's not a perfect movie. It's not the greatest movie. It's one that I like. And obviously have complaints about. I was honestly surprised there wasn't a sequel. I thought there was going to be one. Like, it didn't really leave on a sequel note. Like, it didn't feel like at the end they were like, all right, tune in next time and we'll follow this story thread. I just figured they would push another sequel. There wasn't even one. I figured they would push a sequel, but they never did, which is good, because then they really would have ruined it. I have a feeling that had they kept making more sequels to this, or I keep saying more as if there's a bunch of sequels already. And had they made sequels, I'm pretty sure they would have ruined what was there. But I'm pretty sure like it didn't get enough attention, or like people didn't like it enough for it to get a sequel. But that's never stopped them before. But I think it was different for this one. It's one that was quickly forgotten about, because again, I asked people beforehand when I decided in advance on what movies I was going to review or cover for the holidays, and this one was one of them that most people had never heard of. So there's that. I'm really looking forward to next week's movie because it is very popular. It's a staple of the holidays, and until then, I need to end it. I need a way to end this. Okay, so I now added intro and outro music. I need to add an outro instead of just going, anyway, yeah, and then ending it. But anyway, that's the end of this episode.